jurisdiction, the immediate force available for them for cooperation and working together is the national security forces, who go all the way down to the villages. And it is important that we are able to create this strong relationship, this strong bond between the people and security forces. Remember, and I always say, security forces are there to protect the population. The population must realize that. And therefore, creating a good environment where you're talking to each other, understanding each other, sharing issues of concern and all that are very key. And because we have also chiefs in those villages and all that, we're able to foster this very important and close relationship. I know in the past there have been issues, that the gap between security forces and citizenry. I'm happy that this gap has actually now been narrowed down and things are better today. We can talk to each other, understand each other, share issues, and provide that common security important to all of us.
Yeah. John, let me bring you back on this and compare and contrast for us the security structures during the Mwai Kibaki time and even now.
Yes.
There was a time we saw civilians themselves arresting police officers who were taking bribes. Now, therein comes a very interesting line there. How do you draw the line? Because when now civilians start to take a more frontal, forceful approach, doesn't that then impact directly on the security of the entire country as well?
Sure. So the first thing we saw that the former president, the late Mwai Kibaki, Honorable Mwai Kibaki, did was to professionalize the police from a force to a service. So it looks very, simplistic or just a matter of, semantics. But there's a totally different concept there. So one is a police force and the other one is a police service. So there's the concept of providing services to the Mwananchi. Secondly, like we said earlier, they were actually there's an increase in their wages. When somebody who is sort of living in the jungle, when you're asleep, they're walking in the rain and walking in your neighborhood and facing all kinds of threats. When that person is not well remunerated, there's a risk of compromise and just other factors coming into place just from an economic perspective. So he increased their salaries. And then now, if you walk into any police station today, you'll see what is called a charter, and it even has timelines for service and all that. So they professionalized in that way. Now, yes, there was that initial excitement, and transition times are usually, very, very tricky. And one thing you notice is that the next step was now to reorganize the services. So there used to be so many...
Hold on just one second. Yes. I think we're seeing some movement now from the Lee Funeral Home. I think the procession is now leaving, as you can see, heading all the way to Statehouse. And then there will be the movement to the gun carriage. Earlier on, we saw the family of the late President Mwai Kibaki heading into a different vehicle. And like Brigadier Ahmed was telling us earlier on, the owners of driving right behind the hearse will be a preserve of the family, because it's a mix of both civilian and military activities. They're calling it a state funeral. The movement is very, very seamless right now as we speak. And Hassan Mugambi standing by there to give us the latest. You can see there that the hearse itself is from the military as well, and then they head right to Statehouse. The 6-kilometer stretch all the way to Nyayo National Stadium. There will be police officers lining up, of course, in honor of the fallen head of state. Their heads of state were also expected to head to Nyayo National Stadium. And Brigadier, now this is another issue of protocol. So which one arrives first? The heads of state who are visiting for the morning, or will they wait until the body of the late Mwai Kibaki gets to Nyayo National Stadium, then they come? Or is there no protocol that is observed in that one? Now,
in this case, you'll find that they'll all be in place as the body arrives. So all those who are arriving as dignitaries will come and have taken their positions, and then the body will come in eventually last on this day.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Kinuthia, you're talking to us about the issue of security issues and how it was improved during his time.
Yes. Yeah. So the point is that the service was reorganized. You notice we came from the era of police commissioners to IGs. You notice the command structure was changed. There were now less commanders. Today, the structure is actually very interesting because at the top, let's take the National Police Service, for example, and the Brigadier General made an important point that the Ministry of Interior, part of their role is also national coordination of national government activities, which include police. So they play an important role in that. But apart from that, if, for example, you look at the National Police Service, they have what is called a regional commander of police overseeing what were traditionally
Statehouse and then heading all the way to Nyayo National Stadium. It's a 6-kilometer stretch where now everybody will be standing. The police officers will be lined up across the road as we head there where the state funeral is happening as we speak. The Kenyans have also in that place, quite a number of them started streaming in quite early, like Raquel Mugai was telling us. Now it's like, I think this is the moment now they've been told it is time to move at exactly 8:30.
Time to
and the
move,
movement
indeed.
begins.
And the late is the third to have full military honors. You must mention, of course, founding President Jomo Kenyatta in 1978 and Daniel Arap Moi in February 2020. So this, we literally had a dress rehearsal, if you will, for us in 2020 when we went through this with the late President Moi. But seeing this again, of course, some Kenyans can count themselves experts as they can see this practice being followed almost to a T this year.
It is fascinating. In fact, now the significance of time, I had to admit this, Vicky, I did not know that's the reason why, until Brigadier Ahmed Mohammed mentioned it, that when it's a time of war and there's a line for war that you have to have crossed at a particular time, and if you don't, the artillery shelling begins, whether you're part of them or not. So, but that is not friendly fire. It's just structure.
All fire.
Yeah, it's just fire. All fire systems go. So that's the reason why the military is so precise on time. And let me bring you back to John Kinuthia on this. We're talking about two fundamental issues.
Yes.
How significant is the morale and remuneration? So let's start with the morale in terms of service. Is that where all the silver bullet really lies? Because you're talking about, it's not a matter of boots on the ground to secure the nation, but how much significant is morale? How does morale play into all this for these people in the service?
You mentioned when we were talking about the relationship between the security forces and the citizenry, you talked about, you know, people finding the security forces approachable. Remember, they are part of us. They are our family members. Usually the military and other security agencies recruit from within the citizenry. So that person does not cease to be a human being just because they've enlisted into a service. All that happens, like they're referred to, is their disciplined forces. So now an extra element of discipline, coordination happens, like we were talking about in terms of time and many other aspects. But that person is still a human being. Now, when you ask somebody to do such a tough job as, you know, Vicky, Trevor, John, and Brigadier, being able to...
continue.
Yeah, you can hear me, being able to sleep at night and somebody is walking the streets, facing all kinds of adversity, the cold, the biting cold, the rain, the thugs and all that. If that person is not motivated well, from a moral perspective, from an economic perspective, and then there's a professional aspect of it. If you notice, President Kibaki introduced a lot of professional development into the police service. They go for training before promotions. They go for legal training. They go for advanced training. All kinds of managerial courses from inspector level and above. They are professionals. In fact, they are easily absorbed.